Okay.
This is also being broadcast on the YouTube live. Okay, so yeah, we were talking about the black dragon, which represents ignorance of the law of cause and effect. And so when bad things happen to us, we think, how could this happen to me? So we have the tendency to blame others, thinking that the world is against us, and sometimes we feel consumed with envy. And this is because we don't quite grasp the veracity of the law of cause and effect. And we don't like the sight of others' good fortune, especially when bad things happen to us. And sometimes we even wish disaster on them instead. And the sight of others' misfortune gives us pleasure when we are in a very low point in life. Yeah, you know, after the terrorist attack in the US, when they captured the bin Laden, and I think maybe they killed him, I could see people rejoicing. So, you know, from our perspective, maybe he was our enemy, but, you know, from the perspective of the cosmos, how can we enjoy a person's misery? And yet we all have this mind of ignorance. Do you know the word gloat? To gloat, no? This is to contemplate or dwell on one's own success or another's misfortune with smugness or malignant pleasure. This is same, it's the English word for what Germans call Schadenfreude, which means to enjoy the misery of others. Germans have a word for it, so I thought in English we don't have, but actually I found out it's kind of this gloat. And this is the mind of ignorance. Buddhism calls it the black dragon. And most people don't want to face these emotions within themselves. They think, oh, that's horrible. That's not in me. Oh, those horrible people who get caught by the police, only them. I don't have those. And so they miss out on the chance for growth and learning. You know, these feelings, emotions that trouble and torment us are actually serving a function to help us reach a happiness greater than what we have ever known. It's difficult when we're in the midst of it, I understand, but once we get there, we realize how true it is. So all of these worldly passions, greed, anger, and ignorance, Buddhism calls them as worldly passions that we are all made of. There is nobody who doesn't have these worldly passions. Actually, Buddha taught that we all have 108 of them. In Japan, on New Year's Eve, if you go to a Buddhist temple, you know, they have the big bell. They strike it 108 times. You know why? So every year, definition of these worldly passions is such that feelings and emotions that trouble and torment us. If we write the Chinese characters for these worldly passions, which you all know, within the Chinese characters, there is the element for fire. We are inflamed with these passions. They trouble and torment us. So they strike the big temple bell 108 times, hoping that in the new year, we will not be as troubled and tormented by them as we were in the previous year. But you know, as they do that every year, that's the proof that worldly passions don't go anywhere. They're still there. We are continually troubled and tormented by them. But if we leave them unchecked, we just become at the mercy of them. Nothing good comes out of it. But by listening to the teachings of the Buddha, and by facing what these are commonly called as demons, by facing them, that actually helps us walk this path of knowing oneself by listening to Buddhism and going forward towards attaining a happiness that will never abandon us. Master Shinran experienced this happiness, called absolute happiness, when he was 29 years old in Japan, in Kyoto. And his life of suffering was instantly transformed into a life of joy. This is described in depth in that green book, You Were Born for a Reason. And we actually have very beautiful movies based on his life made by our teacher in Japan. And today I have a 10-minute clip to show you about, even though he was a very good person, but he still had some kind of enemies or people who didn't like him. There was a leader of some other religious group whose followers kept coming to listen to Shinran. Naturally, the leader was very resentful and bitter. So he comes to get revenge. And let us watch that. It's one of my favorite parts, and I hope you would like it too. So these are the followers. I feel grateful. Yeah, so his life is depicted into 6 volumes, animated movies, and I can send you the link also if you have the time to watch it. And yeah, in the first volume, he goes through a lot of sufferings, a lot of hardships. He loses his father when he's 4 years old. He had no one to rely on but his mother, and then his mother too dies when Shinran was 8 years old. So at the age of 8, he has no one to rely on. And what is great about him is that he wants to know what happens to people when they die. And he goes to a Buddhist temple close to his house to find the answer, what happens to people. And so at the age of 9, he enters a Buddhist monastery and starts the path of Buddhism to find enlightenment. And in that mountain near Kyoto, they were teaching Tendai school of Buddhism. This was very common in Japan 800 years ago. And they were following a sutra called the Lotus Sutra, in which they were teaching to reach enlightenment, you have to fight and ideally eliminate your worldly passions. And Shinran, that's all the teachings of Buddha that he knew at that time. So he dedicates himself to fighting against his worldly passions 20 years, only to find out that he is made of these worldly passions. They don't go anywhere. And when he had this realization, it's more like it was revealed to him. We call it twofold revelation. At the age of 29, he discovered the existence of a truth in the universe that has the power to lift our darkness of heart in an instant and grant us a lasting happiness. And so he experienced absolute happiness at the age of 29. All his sufferings transformed and became the source of his joy and happiness. And then after age 29, until he passed away at the age of 90, he dedicated his life going around all over Japan, sharing this with all people, how anyone at all can experience the same happiness as he did. And so in this animated movie, this is later in his years, and we see how he responds with mercy and compassion. He has the caption, English caption.
で死んだもう許せん。余計面会。大尊宮様、大尊宮様、お前らはここにいる。俺一人で十分だ。成敗してくれ。大変だ。嘘だ。大変でございます。弁人が、あの弁人が押しかけてまいりました。何？やり死んだにいるか。育児最大のだらけを。弁年殿が来られたか。一度お会いしたいと思っていたのだが、何を申されますお師匠様。弁年は剣をかかしております。どうか裏から安全なところへ。だからせっかく信頼に会いたいと参られておるのじゃ。会わせてもらおう。しかし、お師匠様、そうです。おやめください。おいしいな。この播磨の木に弁天など聞いておつけついたか。おいでこい。今日は弁はお師匠様、弁天は仏法を聞いたのではございません。お師匠様のお命を狙ってのこと。どうか思い出す。
ご師匠に様のお願いでございます。おやめください。
どうか上人さん、お願いでございます。お願いでございます。親鸞が弁年殿の立場であるか。親鸞が押しかけているのだろう。そしるもそしられるも、恨むも恨まれるも、共に天候輪の意、三仏上の縁なんだ。皆案じるには及ばぬことじゃ。さあ、会わせてもらおう。お師匠様、それではあまりにも、将軍様、どうかおやめください。やりしな、何をしている、手首。皆の者、私の身を案じてくれるのはありがたいが、極悪再現の親鸞を極前無常の幸せに救い保った広大な阿弥陀如来の法を思いと、じっとしては触れんのだ。殺すも殺されるも強引なれば、さらに逃るべきことではない。いずれの世か、仏縁ともなればありません。決して案じ保ってはくださるな。さあ、弁年殿がお待ちじゃ。しかし、お師匠様。親鸞、出てこないなら、こち ちらから踏み込むぞ。お待たせしました。弁天殿。死んだのか。悪の精神が。
弁天は今、燃やせるもののすべてを燃やしきっている。憎悪の炎を夢のようにかけていった。その弁天の目の前に、よく舞いられたと手を伸ばさんばかりの笑顔は、仏か、菩薩か、風雨大天の恩敵と呪い続けたこれが死んだのか。一瞬弁天は真鍋を疑った。みるみるうちに見せていく殺意を知って彼はうろたえた。そんな魂に乗るものかと、弁天は満身に殺意を振りかざそうとするのだ。少女、慈悲四方の和やかな瞳を見つめるうちに、踏みしめている両足からだんだん力の抜けていく己を、彼はどうしようもなく。一瞬、弁天と血走っていた風雨の眼から熱い開墾の涙が止めどもなく溢れ出た。
ああ、俺は間違っていた。俺は間違っていた。深くなった。弁天、一生の深く。お許しください。親鸞殿、皆の繁栄を願い、己のついた世から恩義をせいだと憎み、お命を狙っていたこの弁天。恐ろしい、なぜ来てなった。どうか、今までの大体、お許しください。いやいや、弁天だろ。そう言われると親鸞、恥じるばかりでござる。そなたの方が、と正直であられる。正直。いかにも、孫といえば親鸞も、憎い殺したいところは、山をからりますが、それを隠すに親鸞、もともと迷惑しております。親鸞殿、それに控え、弁天殿は思いのままに振る舞われ、素直な心が羨ましい。親鸞、こんな弁天殿、助かる道がござるか。何を言われる弁天殿。こんな死んだ思う、あんたにらいは救いとも。女をさざまく大学人中の者こそが焼却。この仰せの枝の恩が何の嘆きがあろう。親鸞殿、こんな弁天殿。皆の恩願の焼却とは、それをのことか。どうか、この弁天殿、お弟子の一人だけとお声くださないか、お願いします。お聞きください。いやいや、弁天殿、親鸞には一人の弟子もありもさんし。親鸞、さらに私なし、皆の本願を我の心、人にもお伝え申すばかりなれば、何も教えてか、弟子と申そう。共に皆の本願を問診させていただく我らは御同業じゃ。喜ばしき友であり、兄弟なのだ。弁天殿も早くお聞きください。 本当
かつて播磨の君弁年は親鸞門下の一人となり、妙法坊と大きく生まれ変わったのである。
I don't know. Okay, great. So we're running out of time, but yeah, so we can see how our attitude can change if we really understand the law of cause and effect. And one more thing I want to tell you about the law of cause and effect, and then we wrap it up for today, is that even though we say cause and effect, precisely speaking, it's the law of cause, condition, and effect. So what that means is that if you have the cause alone, it's not going to bring about the effect. It's not sufficient. The cause is like the seed. So if I have the seed of rice and I put it on this desk, no matter how many years I wait, nothing is going to grow because the condition is missing. There's no soil, water, sunlight, fertilizer, things like that. Everything that helps the seed to grow and become the harvest, collectively we call it as condition. So unless the cause and condition come together, we're not going to have the effect occur. So the condition is considered as an indirect cause. So it's very important to have the condition as well. So that's why many times we plant the seeds, but maybe we don't pay enough attention to the environment, that we're planting our seeds, and so we don't harvest the results that we want. And in the first discussion, we were talking about how, for example, if you think about carbon, which is very cheap, and it's found everywhere, very common. And if you touch it, your hand becomes all black, like for barbecue, and you touch the charcoal, it becomes all black, dirty. And so it is as it is, this carbon. But actually, diamond, which is very rare, it's very expensive and precious because it's very rare, but the origin of diamond is actually the carbon. What it requires is a very, very unique condition of high temperature and high pressure. So under this very strong condition, then the carbon transforms into the diamond that's very precious and worthy and very expensive, and not many people have it. So I think that's what we were talking about, but since we're running out of time, yeah, let's have a little bit of more discussions, and then we sing the song of gratitude. So we have again 4 people here and 3.
Okay, this is all about part 2. See you next time.